Hey there on YouTube, a warm welcome to everyone. Controversial Marek here. I bow to you all. My dear friends, we're moving on to a market update because a lot is happening. Lately, there's really been a lot going on. And right at the start, let me say, this is not investment advice. It's just my personal opinion. Listen, I'll try to keep this update as brief as possible, but I just want to cover everything so you know exactly how I see the market right now. Now, my dear friends, let's start with the recent events. Last week, there were some important events. On Wednesday, we had the FOMC, and honestly, the FOMC stirred things up a bit, no matter how you look at it, because we saw a sell the news reaction. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, yes. On Wednesday, we had a drop. Honestly, I thought it would get pulled back up, but on Friday or maybe Saturday, I recorded an update for you after the situation had already happened. And I said that for me, this is the last bastion for it to recover, that I might expect the level of 110K. However, this 112,000 zone, which is the previous ATH, held us up. And listen, honestly, if we had only one single chart, I'll show you, my dears, like this. And on this chart, if we had only one single line, one single level marked, it would be that previous ATH, which has been tested. And that's why we simply have a reaction upwards. And now, my dears, moving on to the specifics. This week, as far as events go, there's nothing interesting for me except for the decision regarding GBP interest rates. So yeah, that's on Thursday. So actually that's today in London. There was liquidity in London today. So one way or another, that's already behind us. However, situations like Trump's speech at 10 o'clock can also bring some developments. Nevertheless, my dears, moving on to the chart, I trade on the Bitget chart. I'll just turn one thing off. Okay, because sometimes it helps and sometimes it gets in the way. So listen, when it comes to Bitcoin, a very nice fair value gap that was here has been completely closed and the imbalances have been filled. Honestly, after this drop here on Friday the 25th, I really thought that would be the pullback and we'd go one step higher. But apparently they had to go down for liquidity, so who am I to argue with them? What definitely stands out to me, my friends, is the fact that right here from the very bottom, here, Dogecoin, Dogecoin, Dogecoin. Where is it? Where is it? I opened a long for a swing at 113 to 750, my friends. I have a long at 113.750, which I'm still holding. 113.750, 113.750. So from around this area here. Honestly, I think it's a very nice long, I'll tell you that. 113, but something doesn't add up for me here. Wait, 1726, the third one. The third was here. 1726. 1726. Let's move on. Damn, just so it's clear I didn't make a mistake. Wait, the third one, 1726. No, I didn't make a mistake. All right, 113.700. That's right, everything checks out. So yes, but wait, this isn't that long, damn. Okay, this one was executed. I set myself at 113.250. Sorry for the confusion, but I just have such a crazy week. It's like a comedy show. Here are more longs EP 112.700. Bitcoin, I'm opening a long from the market at 112.700. Yes, exactly. It reminds me, listen, that I was positioning myself on the D1 here after the engulfing candle because it was quite crucial for me. Why? Because first of all, what matters to me is that we close this entire imbalance and the whole fair value gap, okay? The second thing is that we touched an important level, which is the previous ATH, so this spot was extremely crucial for me. If I have a candlestick pattern that appears for me right now in an extremely crucial spot, a pattern I like to trade, namely an engulfing candle, then I simply trade based on that. And this engulfing candle was very powerful because the entire body of the third candle engulfed the whole previous candle along with its wick. So I expected a return to this area with a stop loss here, but I closed that long position with a limit order. I decided to enter according to the system and managed to catch 112,700. So listen, I caught that long right from the very bottom and I still have that long open. That's on the swing sub account. Besides that, we also traded a few more positions. We caught Ether really nicely. Honestly, I have to tell you, we caught it at 3,770 here and we closed the whole position today at 3,796. We could have held it longer, but realized profit is always realized profit, so I'm absolutely thrilled. In addition, we also traded a short on Ethereum during the American session today, where we made plus 1.5% on the deposit, so honestly, I'm pretty excited, right? Why did I decide to close that Ethereum position? Listen, it's because I saw an engulfing candle here and expected some kind of reaction from that. Honestly, Ethereum looks insanely good, doesn't it? The whole market looks insanely good for further growth. But I also want to show you, besides what we're trading here, because we've really been trading a lot lately. Look, this is, the 5th, the 6th. Yeah, there really is a lot going on today. A lot of positions. Of course, there are also stop losses and take profits. The result at this moment is around 40, I think +8 or +9% of the deposit this month. So for the 7th day of the month, that's pretty good. But don't count your chickens before they hatch. Let's move on to alt and gems because that's something I want to show you. The amount of stablecoins currently exceeds 260 billion. This month, we've seen an increase of over 5%. That's a phenomenal result. That's really great. This is a really nice analysis for Quantica. Bitcoin accumulation is okay. On the daily chart, longs are still increasing on Bitfinex. This is also very interesting from the weekly chart. From the weekly chart, in fact, Bitcoin is starting to look a bit worse. And now, my dear friends, let's move on to the weekly chart. And without getting overly excited, let's take a look at this level, 117,285. And now let's take a closer look. On the one hand, I did indeed mention this particular point in the very last update that we provided, that if we were to pull this specific candle significantly upwards, then in all likelihood, the weekly chart will curl in such a way that we will inevitably touch it, perhaps even surpass it slightly. In the end, when we were at this point, we didn't reach it because it was flattened and it was right here. And here, my dear friends, we were short by well over $800 to touch it. However, now it actually looks as if there was a reaction to that EMA, even though physically it wasn't there at that spot. It's worth pointing that out. And now listen, regarding further positions, my dear friends, I am very, very cautious. Why? Firstly, it's August. And secondly, theoretically, you'd want to say there's reduced liquidity, although the liquidity is actually quite high. But there can be significant manipulations, and such manipulations are indeed happening. Because honestly, I have to tell you, the market hasn't been very kind lately. But what I don't like here on the weekly chart, what Quantic noticed is, my dear friends, the issue of, although actually it's not a complete disaster, but it's, my friends, the issue of, and here I also don't see any divergence. This, my friends, is the issue of that engulfing candle. And now, whether once again this level of 117,285 or rounded to 117,200 will become some kind of super hardcore resistance for us. Unfortunately, we'll only find out once we reach that level. That's the truth. Then now, until we break through with the body and retest 117,300 from above on Bitcoin, so something like this, tick, 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 I remain very skeptical about saying, ooh la la, further growth, blah, 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 blah. Honestly, listen, I discussed my scenario when we were somewhere around here, that it would make sense for me to drop down to this engulfing candle and from there reach this level. And let's say the first point has happened. The second point has almost happened. I think reaching this level is just a formality, although I already have my stop loss set in profit on all positions because we're still trading EN, we're still trading Doge. Sorry, I already closed EN today. We're still trading Solana, we're still trading Doge. Bitcoin is open, so the positions in the group that I manage, the ones I share and play myself, are all secured. So I'll be honest with you, this level is key for me because according to my speculation, my dear friends, it looked like this. From here, I wanted to get a bounce up to MXD1, which happened, and then a drop down to these liquidity candles. Similarly, here I traded a long, I didn't touch the short here because I didn't see any reason for it, and I wanted to see a drop to this engulfing candle and then a pull of the price up to this zone. And now, I don't know whether we'll reach this zone or this zone. I'd like to see the price reach this zone, get rejected, and then drop a bit lower, okay? So for example, a drop, let's say we did something like this, okay? Or just go straight here and then start the rally upwards from there. That's how I see it. That's what would make sense to me. I just don't know whether it'll be from this spot or from this one. And when will I find out? Well, most likely only once it actually happens, right? However, for me, this is already a signal that from this point on, I'm being cautious about what might happen because at this stage of the market, blowing all your money is honestly a really, really, really big mistake. Now then, a fresh cross on the D1 for the EMAs. It should also probably add some fuel as long as it doesn't get invalidated. However, if from this point we confirm a bearish cross, then the probability that we'll stop here, well, I'd say it's 50-50, right? And honestly, that would also fit with dominance, I'll tell you, which just took a hit. And in my opinion, dominance now, my friends, should move within a range. I'll draw it for you. I'm not great at drawing these ranges, these lines, but something like this is what I would expect to see on dominance, more or less. So now, theoretically, you could already start pulling back from here. And to be honest with you, I don't expect it to happen today, but tomorrow I would already expect some shorts on this market. I don't know yet whether I want to play them or not. Maybe even today at 10 p.m., right at the close, at the end of the American market, during aftermarket hours. Maybe Trump will stir things up. Maybe something will just happen. I don't know. We'll see. It's extremely interesting and fascinating to me, everything that's happening on the market, and it's really fun to be a part of it. Listen, Litecoin is seriously wild, really wild. Look at what happened with Ripple. Ripple got some fuel. Ether got some fuel too, right? Take a look. Listen, Arbitrum has caught the wind in its sails. Viv, those memes haven't really taken off yet, but Link had some insanely bullish news today all about Chainlink. So we've got it just like I said. However, in my opinion, it's all just a matter of time. And I'll quickly jump through the altcoins that interest me. The Fed is starting. Jupiter, man, that's a cool project, really a cool project. F.I.R.E is also a project with massive potential. There's not much more to say. Take a look at it on the D1 chart, right? Where are we right now? Man, we're right at the very bottom. Synapse. Well, I won't even comment on Synapse because a lot of people are just making fun of it somewhere. But moves like this on a coin like that, my friends, I don't know if you realize what that means, but in my opinion, of course. But also look at how beautifully it reached exactly the engulfing candle where the whole downward move started. Boom! A beautiful technical approach, technically. Very nice, technically. Right at this spot, purely by coincidence. And now, what I'll tell you, but for me, something like this on the chart means, my friends, that someone is loading up here. Additionally, it would be worth looking at Synapse in terms of volume and market cap, where the transaction volume is much, much higher than the market cap of this coin, which is also super positive. So I'll say it without false modesty, I am buying up Synapse. I've been buying up this whole dip with small amounts. Let me be clear, just with small amounts. These aren't huge sums of money, absolutely not. It's like I skip one whole grain roll a day and put that money into Synapse. But I think that if Synapse rewards us, if it gets somewhere around $1.50, then with my current average purchase price of about 55, 60 cents, 55 more or less, well, I think I should be very, very satisfied with that because my bag on Synapse, as you probably know if you've been watching my channel for a while, it's just, well, how should I put it? Stupidly large. That's how I would describe it. I got carried away and Synapse just slapped me on the wrist. That's how I would describe it. And now, my dear viewers, look, we're getting to the aftermarket. We see a slight rebound on Bitcoin, but that's all. We'll see how this develops, my friends. Can we turn back from here already? Theoretically, yes, because this level is, let's be honest, arbitrary, right? That 117,200, if I were to draw the whole zone, it would actually be worth doing. First of all, my dear friends, on the H4 chart, it would be truly worth doing this particular action. It would be absolutely worth doing it in such a precise and careful way that you actually gather the significant wicks here. Let's say, for instance, from this specific point to that distinct point, and then meticulously create a small, well-defined zone like this, and subsequently stretch it out across the chart. But please pay very close attention to what is precisely happening here, my esteemed friends. What exactly do we have present here? What do we have here? After all, we have a system here. Look, a beautiful system where this candle has taken out all these swing highs. And now, my friends, of course, a smaller time frame and so on, but this is exactly the kind of situation that my friends, like to trade the most. Dropping down to the H1, we actually have this imbalance all the way up to here. But on the H1, listen, if we were to continue the move upwards on the H1, I think this is a really good spot to consider joining this swing. Of course, you have to keep in mind, as I said before, that doesn't mean I'm going to force a long entry now because I'm already in a long from right at the bottom, my 112,700. However, this is a good spot because these EMAs are really guiding the price nicely, especially since soon the H4 EMAs, as they say, will come into play. And we'll see how this ages. We'll see. I'm curious, even if it gets stopped out here. I'm not trading this anyway, just to be clear. It's just a nice entry according to the system. Technically, it should be something like this because they say to set it below the last low, but even more aggressively, you could try it like this. But for me, the optimal stop loss is right here under this low. So listen, just take it easy. Of course, like I said, this is just my approach. It doesn't mean you should copy it. Absolutely not. I'm simply sharing what I see in the market. All right. So I think this is a good setup. And from these moving averages here, you could actually expect some kind of rebound. Maybe what Trump says will have an impact. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, listen. Anyway, what's also interesting to me about this market is the very pattern of movement itself. The pattern I've told you about many times already, meaning that Monday can be a fake out, but generally we have, so Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, we have a bottom. And here, in fact, you can see, look, Tuesday and Thursday, Friday, and today is Thursday and Friday down. So I would expect maybe a bounce, a move up into this area or this one. That would actually be pretty cool because that position would work out, even though I don't trade that way. But that's fine. And maybe some shorts on Friday. I don't know. We'll see. But like I'm telling you, listen, you can already see the reaction. The move up has already started. Like I told you, this level is key for me, and it's just something to keep an eye on. And that's all there is to it. My dear friends, thank you so much. I'll try, damn, to record these updates faster, but I mean more often. But honestly, I have to tell you, this recent period has been ultra demanding for me, and it would be nice if finally some peace and a bit of relaxation came along. But as they say, when things are happening, at least you know you're alive, right? Or you're not complaining your back is killing you. My dear friends, thank you. I bow deeply, sending you my warmest regards. Big hugs. Bye.